Dr. Iqbal Singh Chahal, BMC Commissioner, Mumbai, the Maharashtra cadre, an engineer by qualification, Dr. Chahal has the soul of a soldier and the mind of an achiever. Dr. Chahal was appointed Commissioner of the Municipal Corporation Mumbai in May 2020, right in the thick of it. It was the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The scale of the pandemic was of a world war. The Mumbai model is a management system for proactively chasing the virus. It works on autopilot today. This Mumbai model has delivered victory. It has enabled the flattening of the COVID-19 curve not once, but twice, thereby saving hundreds of lives. The benchmark features of the Mumbai model are, instead of a central war room, establishing 24 war rooms across 24 wards in Mumbai. The objective, optimum allocation of hospital beds in public and private hospitals. Tenting 6 jumbo COVID centers across Mumbai with a capacity of, hold your breath, 9,200 beds. These are makeshift hospitals, but with ICU beds and round-the-clock medical and support staff. A unique achievement of the Mumbai model has been the control of COVID-19 in the slum, the largest slum in the world, Dharavi, not to mention also the Machimarsa slum in Worli. Dr. Chahal has saved a mega humanity crisis. His mantra, test, trace, track, and treat. Dr. Chahal is a COVID superhero, unafraid to think boldly and out of the box, and respected globally. We are honored, Dr. Chahal, to present you the Kimbrough Medal 2021 for extraordinary achievement. May I request Dr. K.K. Noria and Mr. Suresh Lulla to present the award to Dr. Iqbal Singh Chahal.
A few words, please.
Honorable Dr. Lulla, respected trustees of Kimbrough Foundation, and distinguished audience. The first COVID case came on 16th of March. And when I was assigned the job of Municipal Commissioner Mumbai on the 8th of May, the death rate had touched 8%. And between the 1st of February and 22nd of March, midnight, the last international flight arrived at Mumbai airport, we got 1.72 lakh passengers from various countries into Mumbai, and that is what made Mumbai the hotspot in the country, because the virus was imported through these people who came in those last 4, 5, 6 weeks. And the day I joined, unfortunately, I was welcomed by 3 dead bodies on the roads of Mumbai. One at Dadar footpath. There was one person who was found dead in the auto rickshaw. And third person who was gasping of breath moving from Dharavi to Sahin Hospital. He passed on the way on the road right. I got on the 8th of May, and I remember on the 17th of May, the New York Times reported that in Mumbai, the health infrastructure has collapsed. COVID has entered the slums of Mumbai, where 1.2 million people live. And people are going to die in thousands. But I'm so happy that the team BMC rose to the occasion like a phoenix. And in the second wave, between February 10th and 31st May, Mumbai got 3.93 lakh COVID positive cumulative cases, and the number of deaths was 3484, which was 0.8%, one of the lowest in any comparable global city in the world, much lower than New York. So how does this happen? You know, on the 8th of May, when I took over, I told my team, I said, let's not have any Zoom meetings now. We must have eyeball contact all the time. And we virtually brushed away all Zoom meetings. And that night, I had a long meeting with 120 of my core team, which included my additional commissioners, deputy commissioners, joint commissioners, assistant commissioners, and whole paraphernalia of our doctors, the senior doctors, the ward level doctors. And the first thing I told them was, which came out of my soul, I said, look, we are all very blessed ones. As pandemics comes once in 100 years, the last came in, the Spanish flu came in 1918, and the next may come after 100 years. So I told them, I said, look how lucky we are. You know, BMC has a team of 100,000, over 100,000 people. I told them, all of us who are sitting here, 120 of us, we are all blessed by God. That we are getting this opportunity to serve mankind and to save human lives. And I told them, I said, look, you must realize how lucky we are. And then I said, we have been criticized that BMC officials not see in the slums. Those days we had 2,700 containment zones. Each containment zone had a population of 4,000, which means 1.12 crore people were in containment zones. So I said, this 15,000 health workers and at least 50,000 of our frontline workers in BMC, I said, tomorrow morning, everybody has to be out of his office, led by the commissioner. And suddenly it just came out of my speech. I said, we have to chase this virus. And I said, the enemy is invisible, and this COVID fight is going to go like a war. It may not end in a couple of weeks where government officials, they do some ad hoc arrangements for 2, 3, 4 weeks and the calamity comes and goes. I said, this is going to be war. It may go for a couple of years and individuals never fight war. The war is fought by systems. And I said, we must have now systems in place and the systems must go on autopilot. So we devised 28 different systems, or we call it initiatives. Whether somebody was a diabetic patient, we had a portal for him for on-the-spot allotment of COVID bed with dialysis facilities there. whether we hiked the number of ambulances from 800 to 1,000 all on Uber platforms, only the software borrowed from them. Whether we had online dashboard of 186 hospitals in Mumbai, 140 for private and 42 for BMC, all in a single online real-time dashboard available on my cell phone. All government hospitals and private hospitals working hand to hand, and all private hospitals, whether it Beach Candy or Lilavati, Nanavati, all giving us beds at government rates, 4,000 rupees per bed per day, which continues today also. Whether it was crematoriums, 47 of them, all working on autopilot, all working on IIT design dashboards. And next morning, on 9th of May, we entered the slums of Mumbai, and I must tell you that I went to 55 containment zones myself. And I said every visit has to be a long march. It can't be in a photo op operation. The first march in Dharavi was almost 6 kilometers. And then suddenly, when the 50,000 people entered the slums of Mumbai, the chase started. Now, how did we chase the virus? I said, the 50,000 health workers, led by Commissioner, they will start testing, visiting slums, containment zones. They will conduct RT-PCR tests at the site, in the home of the slum dweller. Once anybody found positive, we would deploy buses and pick up 50 to 20 of his family members, neighbors, and high-risk contacts, and by force put them in hotels. We requisitioned 211 hotels in 48,000 beds. All 3-star, 4-star hotels. These people were moved into these hotels for 10 days free boarding and lodging. If anybody developed symptoms, he would move to hospital. On day 10, they were tested for RT-PCR. If found negative, they would go back to their sanitized homes. We started moving 25,000 people per week. And in 5 weeks, initially resistance was there, we used force, but within 8-10 days, when the message spread that they have very comfortable stay of boarding and lodging in these hotels, the movement became voluntary. And we moved 1.46 lakh people in just about 6 weeks. Otherwise, this 1.46 lakh high-risk contacts would have all become COVID positive living in slums, and we have generated another 1 million positives. Then we entered the public toilets. You know, in slums in Mumbai, each public toilet has about 20 to 25 seats. I would make it a point that I will enter the toilet and stand on the last seat. And I'll spend at least 2 or 3 minutes there, so that fear goes away. And I told my team, I said, these public toilets are being used by 400 people in a day. So a batch of 20-25 goes. I said, we must start sanitizing them every 2 hours. Which continues today also. All slums of Mumbai, all public toilets of Mumbai. We spent crores of rupees on that. The fact was, last year we had a 0 malaria death, 0 dengue death. Because we oversensitized the slums. Every lane, every by-lane, every public toilet, we started sanitizing. We created the company leaders. The definition was he has to be living with his family for years together in that containment zone. He can't be outsider. They were given free smartphones, 2,700 of them, and they were given my personal number and the ward war room numbers. We said the ward war rooms are going to contact you to check about sanitization, the food packets. Those days we were distributing 700,000 food packets every day because we had lockdown from 24th March till about end of May. And then there were 1,500 standalone shops of doctors, MBBS doctors, RMPs who had all vanished, putting the shutters down. We started distributing them 1 week's advance quota of PPE kits from ward rooms, and we motivated them to open the shop for non-COVID treatment of patients. The community leaders will give a feedback on that also. And this kind of chase in public toilets, we started virtually destroyed the virus in public toilets. And this campaign started on 9th of May, and on 11th of July, exactly 2 months, WHO Director General came live on TV and said the virus is under control in Dharavi and slums of Mumbai. Those days we didn't have vaccination, we didn't have medicine, we didn't have treatment protocol. But it was just very aggressive surveillance. After this, Mumbai, I must say that this is the only one city in the entire world. And I've been telling this thing again and again, someone must have heard this. Mumbai is the only one city in the world, not even Thane, not in Navi Mumbai, our neighbors, where a positive test report of RT-PCR test, once you are found COVID positive, it doesn't fly from lab to the patient to an SMS or WhatsApp or email or hard copy. This is banned by orders. We have handled 7.48 lakh reports in the last 2 waves, COVID positive, and all of them have come to BMC at midnight, 2-3-5 hours. Even the day when we got 11,100 cases on a single day on 14th of April 2021, all these 11,000 cases came in a single software line list to BMC headquarters. That night, nobody in the city knew who's COVID positive for the day. We said this system of labs slapping these reports through email or SMS or WhatsApp on the patients creates panic and chaos in the market. Because when I joined, I found that those days about 1,000 people were coming positive in the second, third week of May. Each person who was found COVID positive would start staring at death. He would become very panicky. He would start calling up IAS officers, ministers, doctors, MLAs, MPs, industrialists. Each guy would generate about 10 phone calls, and these 1,000 people would generate 10,000 phone calls in those 1 or 2 hours. This will make the 30-line central control room collapse. And then by 8:30, electronic channel would take over, and by 9:30, I would start getting calls from Government of India. Ultimately, Honorable CM would call me around 11:30. That said, what's happening? I can see on TV that the control room is not working. So on 24th of May, suddenly I told my team, I said, let us abolish this control room because of no use. So my people are shocked. One of the leading opposition leaders called me, he said, Chahal, you are playing with fire. I said, sir, you give me 15 days time. If after 15 days you're not happy with me, you call me. Until today, he didn't call me back. Because on 8th of June, we started 24 war rooms. One in each war room having 10 dashboards. These 224 wards, 240 dashboards were managed by 1,000 young boys and girls who were all interns of medical colleges from all of Maharashtra. Because I was Secretary of Medical Education in 2011-12, I knew Maharashtra has got 55 medical colleges. There are 11,000 boys and girls sitting idle at home in tribal areas, in backward areas, in remote hinterland. So I started a WhatsApp campaign through my KEM Dean, Mohan Joshi of Sion and Deshmukh. I told them that send them an offer on WhatsApp, 50,000 rupees stipend instead of 9,000. Free boarding and lodging in a 5-star hotel nearest to the war room. You come and join us and we give you non-COVID work. 1,100 boys and girls joined me within 7 days. And on 8th of June, they were all deployed. 240 doctors working in 3 shifts with abundant number of spare people. And these young boys and girls, they did a fantastic job. You know, one of the boys, he saved us 50,000 rupees as pocket money because they were being put in JW Marriott, Taj Palace Hotel. He saved almost 5 lakh rupees in 1 year, and he from Dhulia district. It came in newspaper that he went back and he purchased a plot of land for his parents to live. Because it was big money for the boy from Shulka's family coming from a small town. He would have never dreamt that he would live in JW Marriott. So these, not even one boy was callous or careless because they were so scared that they may lose this job. And for the almost 14 months, not even one went back. And I was so lucky that I didn't have to spare any of my doctors for this job. And these young boys and girls who were managing these dashboards on war rooms, at the same time we got a dashboard made for 186 hospitals ambulances were increased. Each ward group had its own ambulances, medical teams, the doctors, dashboards, telephone operators. So it became like 24 Mumbai's fighting COVID war. Only one thing was common, online real-time integrated dashboard. Every hospital had a war room. Besides these. We put IAS officers, young IAS officers in our all BMC hospitals, KM, Nayak, Sion, JJ, to ensure that this updation of dashboards happen every half an hour. Then, even I must salute the private hospitals of Mumbai. When this New York Times report came, I called them. I said, please come for a meeting. 35 of them came, all big hospitals. Nanavati, Leelavati, Hinduja, Bombay Hospital, Breach Candy, Fortis. I said, look, read this news item. I had hard copy. I said, you people were trying to make Mumbai the South Asian second hub of medical tourism after Singapore. And look, this is what the world has to say about you. I said, make some sacrifice now, otherwise your credibility will be gone forever. And if you sacrifice something from the short run, and you keep your credibility intact, you will be ultimately big gainers. So they told me, sir, what do you want from us? I said, you hand over 100% of the ICU to me, 80% of your COVID beds to me, and you shall not allot them. You will only treat the patients. And that system continues today after 19 months, today also. Where no private hospital in Mumbai, 144 of them are supposed to allot their own bed. This is very unique about Mumbai. That's why I salute the doctors and the hospitals of Mumbai city or the private sector. We tried to make everything. Then once we would get these reports, whether 1,000 or 10,000 at midnight, we would have scores of doctors of BMC sitting from 12 midnight till 6 a.m. They would clean this list. Cleaning means some patients already in the hospital on the hospital beds. They have come again COVID positive. They don't need a bed. We put their name aside. There's some addresses of Thane or Mira Bhayandar, Navi Mumbai, which had come to our list because lab were testing other districts also. So we would transfer these names to the districts. At 7 o'clock, the software would split this list into 24 parts, depending upon the address given at the time of collection of swab. And by 8 o'clock, even if you have, say, 1,000 patients, 1,000 COVID positive patients, each ward room gets only about 40. Each dashboard gets only 4. Out of which maybe 2, maybe or 3 may be asymptomatic, home quarantine. So once one doctor lost 1 or 2 beds, a list of 1,000 vanishes. Even if you have 10,000 cases that day, particular one day, 11,000 cases, each ward room got only 400 cases. So each doctor got only 40 cases. Once one doctor could handle 40 cases, a list of 10,000 is disposed of. This is what I call systems working autopilot. And once a CNN reporter suddenly confronted me on a road in Andheri, and she said, sir, I just rang up Hinduja Hospital, there's no bed there. I said, and he said, patients are running from pillar to post. I said, you withdraw your question. She was live on the TV. I said, look, in Mumbai, hospitals have been banned from allotting beds, and the only answer they'll give is bed is not available. Go to BMC. And I said, till 8 a.m. in the morning, patient is not aware whether it's positive or negative. And by 8:20, our ambulances reach their home because ward is so small, the journey is not more than half an hour, I think, for any of the wards. So I said, there's no way patient gets the reaction time by the time he's informed to ring up the hospital also. That's why I say your question is irrelevant. She immediately put the camera off and she vanished. So we created systems which we could challenge people. And in this system, 8 o'clock, these young boys and girls will start calling up 240 at a time. And if somebody was asymptomatic, they would be told that, sir, we will call you 5 times in a day till you become COVID negative. And in between, if you develop symptoms, you call us back or you let us know, we'll send the ambulance and pick you up and put you in the hospital bed. These ambulances were used to ensure that Mumbai became the first city where all COVID bed allotments were happening at the residence of the patients. The moment somebody would say that the person is symptomatic and he is in hospital bed, We had 10 medical teams, 10 ambulances permanently parked round the clock in these hospitals, these war homes. They would reach the patient's residence, check his body temperature, check his oxygen level, see the comorbidities, see what symptoms the patient has, and then we would decide, not the patient, the category of bed he is entitled to. There was tremendous social equity. Whether the rich is the rich or the poor is the poor, the system was same. The ambulance would go home because he won't get a bed in the hospital directly. And in the system, on one side, we had optimum uses of our 23,000 beds which we created. We created 9,000 beds in 7 jumbos. And since I joined till today, not even a single non-COVID bed was made COVID bed. Because we kept on adding beds in jumbo hospital. Today, after second wave, we built 4 million more jumbos. Today we have 15,000 beds in jumbos. 900 ICU, dialysis beds in jumbos. So the ambulance with the medical team would reach the patient's home, assess his medical condition, then ring up the ward room doctor from the living room of the patient and ask for a bed. The bed will be allotted on a hold call, and then the patient will be announced that you've been allotted this particular bed as per your choice. We try to do the choice, and the same ambulance will then pick up the patient, drop him in the hospital bed. When the ambulance will enter the hospital management no role in admission process. They were only supposed to treat the patient. And I must salute the private hospital that today also the same system they have continued. They have taken a hit of thousands of crores. I'm told the total hit is about 1,700 crores. But they're serving us a smile. But because of this, the credibility of private hospital in Mumbai is so high today that we had almost 12 air ambulances coming from Dubai to Mumbai with COVID patients during second wave. People who became COVID positive in Dubai, they would prefer to come to Mumbai and get treated here. We had air ambulances coming from Delhi, from Chennai. That was the credibility which the private hospital could establish of their own. So in this system, which we would say that this initiative is known as Chase the Patient. Chase the patient right from his positive test report to till putting in the hospital bed, everything we do. You know, people went to Supreme Court of India. They said that Mr. Chahal has violated the right of the patient to get the positive report. We made a video, 4-minute video, and we took it to the Supreme Court. We said, sir, our turnaround time is 16 hours. Somebody's slab is collected at 2 o'clock, 8 o'clock next morning, here's your report. Tell me which state in India which has this time of 16 hours of turnaround time for a COVID positive report. But ultimately, when we convinced the Supreme Court, we could have a way until today's system goes on. But in this system, look at the risk involved. In the 7.48 lakh reports, if some of them would have got missing, the patient wouldn't have got treatment. He wouldn't have got a bed because no hospital was supposed to give a bed without a COVID report. And if a couple of them would have died, they would have sued us. That since they didn't get the COVID positive report, they couldn't get treated, so their relatives died. But we work with razor sharp precision. Till today, there's not a single complaint is there in Mumbai where somebody would say that he didn't get a positive report. But this is where I say I salute my team BMC. This is what the team BMC could achieve. You know, on 17th of April 2021, at 12:30 in the night, I got a phone call from one of the ward rooms. There's 6 hospitals running out of oxygen. 168 patients are on oxygen, 134 on oxygen and 34 in ICUs. But we had systems on autopilots, and they say that in next 1.5 hours, if they're not shifted, all of them are going to die. But between 12:30 p.m. and 2 a.m., we had 200 ambulances running in the city of Mumbai. And by 4 a.m., all of us shifted to our jumbos, and not even one passed away. The media tried its best. There were 0 casualties. Even patients in ICUs were shifted. We didn't have ICUs, but we put them in oxygen bed in jumbos. This is what the team can do. So this way, then when the first wave came, Mumbai had, like Dr. Gleria said, that we have very few labs. Mumbai had only one lab, Kasturba. And then slowly and steadily today we have 56 labs, we have 100,000 capacity of testing in Mumbai city. But those days were very difficult days. And once we were testing just about 3,500 people every day. A country like Germany was doing 50,000 cases a day. And number of cases coming from slums were humongous. But luckily those days, in the month by May end, our jumbos came up. So an idea struck us. We said, let us reserve 2,000 beds in these jumbos out of 9,000. There were 7 jumbos in NSC Dome, Worli, Nesco, Goregaon, Mulund Naka, Dahisar Naka, BKC, Richardson Kudas. They were spread all over the city, geographically. So we said this 2,000 oxygenated beds shall be suspected beds only. Each jumbo was managed by a dean, because I said each jumbo bed has about 1,000, 2,000 beds. It's much bigger than an ordinary hospital. So why shouldn't the doctor in charge be known as a dean there? They were designated deans. And deans were told that anybody gasping for breath who comes to you with or without test report, he must be put on these suspected beds. We made aggressive publicity to ward war rooms through electronic media, that anybody feeling unwell, whether swab is taken or not, he must take an auto rickshaw, he can walk down, he take a bus, he can take a taxi, he can take an ambulance. He should just walk into the jumbos. He'll be welcome there. They'll put on the oxygenated beds. They'll be stabilized there. Test reports will be taken there. If found positive, they'll be moved to COVID beds in the jumbos. If found negative, they'll be stabilized and sent back home. 24,000 people came on these suspected beds, out of which 22,500 tested COVID positive. Had these suspected beds not been created, we didn't have the capacity. Many of them would have died. Large number would have died. And those days we had a positivity of 10%, which means to detect these 20,000 odd people, 22,000 people, we would have to do 2 lakh testing. Without 200,000 testing plus, we could detect these people. This is very unique to Mumbai, where we could match up to European countries, where we could de facto do lakhs of tests without not doing it. And today also, if you see our dashboard, our suspected bed category continues. So this way we did number of experiments, and in this change the patient policy, which was huge success. Mumbai became a city without chaos. It became a city without panic, because the moment we would announce that you are COVID positive, we would reach the home and put him on the hospital bed. The same team has performed so well. For example, there are a number of issues I can tell you, but one of the things I must tell you that the ward rooms, they have such a great success. Not only like for treating COVID patients, even for vaccination. Today, Mumbai can proudly claim that it has done 100% single dose vaccination of all eligible citizens. And we have done 65% double dose also. In fact, last week there was a VC with Honorable Prime Minister of India, where Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra has requested the Honorable Prime Minister that if you would kindly reduce this 12-week period from 12 weeks to 4 weeks, we can finish off vaccination of the second dose also 100% in the next few days. Because we are left with only 33 lakh people now, and we can do 200,000 testing a day. But because people are not due today, somebody who's taken a first dose, say in September and October, he is not due to get a second dose. That is a stumbling block for us to march towards 100% second dose vaccination. So I hope, I'm pretty sure that if this period gets reduced and the supply is now fairly good enough, by December end, Mumbai can have 100% double dose of vaccination for all the citizens. So this in the vaccination also, we had a unique model. You know, BMC couldn't procure or buy vaccine from manufacturing companies because 75% total manufacturing capacity is procurement, monopoly procurement, government of India, which is given to the states on per capita basis. But 25% of the stock is available to private hospitals to buy at a price. So Mumbai, we went around telling the corporates that I can't buy because if I buy a single vaccine, there will be order rejection. Because something which I'm getting free, I can't buy. So we told the corporates like Reliance, Citibank, STFC, Godrej, Gautam Sanghania Group, World Trade Center, Ajanta Pharma, so many of them. We said, you please contribute money and pay directly to the hospitals, private hospitals. And we told the private hospital that once you get this money, which we will go dovetail, you place orders and procure vaccines. And once the vaccine arrives, you hand over those vaccines to BMC to be delivered to slum free of cost. We have done 1 million vaccination like this, where somebody was paying, somebody was buying, and somebody was getting it free of cost. I don't know many cities in India which has done this. But in this scheme of things, we could mobilize 1 million additional vaccinations through this unique model of tripartite agreement between BMC, private hospitals, and the corporates. And I must thank the corporates also. They have been very kind enough to us. They have given up 100 crore rupees for this. And huge amount of money was collected like this through CSR. And this is how we could vaccinate our brothers and sisters in slums. Then people start telling me that certain communities have a lot of vaccine hesitancy. Way back in the month of June, July. So when we opened up on 15th of August in Mumbai, till 15th of August everything was closed. We came with a very unique idea that only double vaccinated people will be allowed in local trains. You know, Mumbai has 3181 trains every day, with 84 lakh people travel. As of today, yesterday the ridership was 60 lakhs. And all of them are double vaccinated only. Now how to railway said it's very difficult. I said nothing is impossible. What we did, we had 108 stations in Mumbai, 108 local stations. Every station BMC desk was put with 3 or 4 BMC officials sitting next to the ticket counter with a QR code reading machine, because we didn't want even single duplicate certificate to be misused. So we told that we will handle the crowds. We told our citizens, please, there will be no daily tickets. We will give only monthly passes. With effect on 15th of August, that continues today also, almost last 90 days. We said, you go to our desk, we will check your double vaccination certificate, we will put a stamp. Once stamp is put, the railway window will give you 1 month pass blindly. We have given lakhs and lakhs of such passes. And at the same time, on 15th August we started this. I went public on all our Marathi channels. I said, COVID may not go away for next 1 year, 2 years. So vaccination is not compulsory. But if you don't get vaccinated, you won't be able to ride the trains. In Mumbai, if you know, your livelihood depends on the local trains for poor people, the poor section of society. Somebody is getting 10,000 salary, who is working as peon, a driver. Unless he travels 1 hour by train, he can't take up his livelihood. So you will be surprised that lakhs of people in Mumbai have taken vaccination to ride local trains only. Then we told these people that whether you want to enter a shopping mall or restaurant or spa or gym, whether employees or whether clients, they have to double vaccinated. Malls were told that if you admit any non-double vaccinated customer, we will cancel your license. I started getting calls from rich families. The children couldn't go to shopping malls if I could arrange their vaccination. The boys and girls were 20, 21, 22 years old. So this became a compulsion to get vaccination. Then way back in June, we went to celebrities in Bollywood, like Salman Khan. We said, you have a following of 60 million. Why don't you make videos which will make viral in your community. So Salman Khan made a video that, look, I have taken double vaccination, my family has taken, my father has taken, brothers have taken. So those videos we gave to the Dharam Gurus and the local leaders in these communities, and they were made viral in these areas. And this is the reason why we could achieve 100% single dose vaccination. So I always say that nothing is impossible, but we have to plan for it. So Mumbai model is nothing but 28 different systems working on autopilot, where no intervention is required, everything is happening of its own. And I'm sure that in times to come, and very soon, in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we have a target to achieve double vaccination of all our eligible citizens. And I'm sure we're in for better days. Thank you very much.